Dodger Stadium.
Yeah.
Holy cow! I mean, that was the
That's
first,
not even their original stadium, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, is
yeah,
it?
yeah. You know, they've done upgrades now, but that's the original stadium. You know, and that was the first of the modern stadiums.
Right.
You know, that along with the Astrodome. You know, and like all these other parts.
Which is gone.
Yeah, which is gone. Yeah. Yeah. Just you know, then all these other ones came along that were horrendous.
Yeah.
The worst field I ever went to see a game in was Veterans Field in Philadelphia.
Oh.
It was the most sterile, disassociative place I'd ever been. I mean, there was just no connection with anything.
Right.
You know, it was terrible. Another park that I went to that was Wrigley-ish was County Stadium, Milwaukee. That was an old stadium. But the thing that was tough there, it was old, but it was steep. You know, the Wrigley was a little bit gradual, you know, but it was County Stadium was really steep. And
we went to a game in Philadelphia, and we were in the we had last minute tickets. It was actually the year they went to the World Series. How many years ago now? Quite a few.
Yeah.
When they had that wild thing.
The closer, yeah. Mitch Williams.
Yeah. He closed the game we were at, and it was the same thing he did in the World Series. Gave up 3 runs in the 9th inning and lost the game. But we were in the top ring, and you could actually walk all the way around. So there was, like, as you say, there was no connection with the and nothing but partial view seats all the way around. For that matter, you could, you know, there was you couldn't even see somebody catching the ball in right field.
Yeah.
Where we were, you know. Depending on where you were, you couldn't see somebody catching the ball in left field or center field or behind home plate.
Yeah. Wrigley, I spent a summer in Chicago back in the '80s, and we went to Wrigley, you know, and of course we bought them from the scalper, and now I know why they scalped them. We were sitting behind one of the pillars, and you had to look around because he still had the girders in there, you know. Yeah. But it had that old time feel, so okay, you put up with it.
Right.
You know, people go bananas now if you ever. Of course, with the price you're paying for it, you want to be able to see everything plus shake.
My brother occasionally gets the worst seats in Fenway Park.
Yeah.
Again, with the pillar right in front of you. But it's, you know, it's pretty close to the third baseline near home plate. So it you know, if you actually get around the pillar, it's not a bad seat at all.
Yeah. So anyhow, it's great that we've had this park for 100 years.
Yep. I see the 2004 Red Sox got together a couple of nights ago at Fenway Park, and oddly enough, both Manny Ramirez and Johnny Damon got warm welcomes from the fans. And they let Manny throw out the first pitch, and Damon cut it off before it got to the catcher.
Manny still have those dreads?
He had a mohawk. He had a mohawk. He was wearing a mohawk.
He's a player
coach
for Chicago
for AAA team.
Yeah.
You know, he could be back. You know, the guy is such an enigma.
Yeah,
Talent. When he wanted to play, it was at will. He could hit at will. And the only time he would get into a slump is when he was sulking.
Yeah.
He didn't feel like hitting today.
Yeah.
You feel like hitting, Manny? Yeah, okay, boom, out it goes.
He was a character.
What raw talent, though, my God. Of course, he always looked like he was playing in his pajamas out in the field.
Oh, those awful pants. They were baggy,
and dragging along under his heels.
Terrible.
Yeah.
Terrible. I think the only thing worse than that is when the guys wear the cap askew. You got a baseball hat is to be worn, and it's not to be flat.
And I hate the
flat
straight rim.
Oh yeah, you got. You know what?
If you can't fold it up and shove it in your back pocket, then
yeah,
absolutely.
Absolutely. You know, hey, if you don't leave your glove on the field, what are you doing, right? Leave your glove on the field like everybody else. You know. Now, that was still prevalent in the mid '50s. Guys leaving their gloves out by their position. Now, they're so big they'd cover up half the field with the gloves that they wear. You know, unbelievable. You know, AMSM should be proud of Shuttleworth Park.
Absolutely. And it's just getting better, which is nice. It's one of the few things that's continuously improved.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, there was a school board election last week, and I got to tell you, I didn't even see what the results were, other than I see the budget pass. You give the people what they want, and you get a little more support on the budget issues.
Yeah, and the budgets are good. Yeah, well, the three incumbents, Nellie Bush, Peter Pritchard, and Reverend Kent McCurd, were reelected. I think Kent was third of the incumbents, and he won by about 150 votes over the Andrea Prusky who
Well, that
ran.
shows.
So it was pretty, you know.
That shows satisfaction with the Murdoch regime.
The Bush regime. But you know, the budgets the last few years have been good. You know, I couldn't tell you how many millions of dollars the district's brought in with federal monies. You don't call it free money because we know it comes from our pocket.
But you actually
it's federal money.
You actually had a decrease in expenditures this year in the budget, which seems to be unheard of.
Yeah, you know, a lot of it is because of the change on the insurance that's been made. You know, he's been spending wisely. Kim Brumley has done a super job with the budget. I mean, she knows where everything is. She knows how to maximize everything that we pay, which is good. We put less out of the fund balance into this year's budget, which is good. And you know, her hope someday.
That's good for next year.
It's good for next year. You know, people always, well, put more in the fund balance. Well, then you're artificially creating a budget, and next year, automatically, if we don't put that amount in, you're going to cost you more. So she did a good job with that. And I heard this morning. Dr. Nellie Bush is going to be the interim principal down in Chalmont.
Is that right?
That's right.
Oh, good for her.
Yeah, Chalmont is under a little microscope right now. They had some issues with their testing. As you know, that last year the state came out with new tests geared towards the Common Core.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the procedures for the Common Core is that the teachers do not get to see the test nor keep the tests, the question booklets. Everything gets turned back in or destroyed. And apparently at Chalmont, that was not the case across the board, and the state used some of the same questions again this year, but the students who took the test for the first time had seen those questions because that was apparently part of a review that they had from last year's exam, which was not permitted. So,
well, then that's stupid.
So
that's stupid on the part of the state for not changing the tests.
But they knew going in last year that, you know, some of these going to be recycled through, and you don't get to have. We used to be able to keep the exams, okay. We used to be able to keep all the exams, you know, and so you had those to review for the next year, or a number of years you wanted to use them. You also not only got to keep the exams, but you were able to, after all the grading had taken place, view your students' exams. So you could see for yourself and create a database to those areas in which your students didn't do well, so that you can say, you know what? We didn't spend enough emphasis on this. Okay.
Now, Gavin, standardized testing has been done for a long time. This is a particularly different test, but it's still a standardized test. All right? Procedures for developing standardized tests have been in existence for a long time. And for example, the Regents exams. You can go back and get every Regents exam back to when our grandfathers were kids.
Right,
you know.
Right.
And they're not the same every year, but they do cover the, you know, American history covers American history, blah, blah, blah. And you know you're going to get questions from this pool of information, or of subject matter. there's no reason for them to do what they're doing, okay? So I don't even see a reason for repeating a question. Yeah, same area, yes.
Well, what
now, my mother used to contract out with the state education department to write some of these tests.
Yes,
she did the Regent Scholarship exam. She actually worked on the one I took, as it happens. But
she didn't know that.
No, she did not. She did not know that. She did not know what
Sure.
year the questions she was writing were going to come up. But they had, you know, like for reading, passages and stuff like that. They would give her a list of types of magazines that had the reading level that they were working for, and she would go in and she would, find a passage, write a few questions related to it, and she also did it for different kinds of professional exams that were issued by the state education department, and if they were meant for a lower level, you would get like a low, you'd get like People magazine, and so it wasn't there then, but that's the type of thing. They know how to do this. I don't understand what the point is of. I think you know what I think the real point is. They don't want the test to get out to the public to see what stupid questions they're actually asking the kids.
Well, that there's some merit to what you said.
Yeah.
But last year was the first time that they gave it. Misha was in 7th grade, and they were not scored locally, nothing, and the teachers had no idea what areas of concentration looking at, which areas they didn't. I mean,
so then what is the purpose of giving the exam?
Well, you want to find out what the kids are learning and what the teachers are teaching.
Yes, I understand. Yeah, so the federal government or whoever or the state can find out.
We don't know.
But the people who are doing the teaching,
they don't know.
I'm really surprised at this, but the teachers unions and people like me are getting a kind of common cause.
Common cause on the Common Core?
Common cause on the Common Core. My understanding that when they were developing these Common Core standards, there was exactly, I think, one teacher that was involved in the whole process.
See, part of that is because the test development itself now is done through a company. They are the ones who are generating this. These are the ones who are selling it. There's a lot more monetary streams going out to private sectors on this than there was before, because the Regents exam was made up, as you said, it would be developed. This summer, Stu Palzak and Kevin Willery would go down to the state education department for a couple of weeks, and with their colleagues from various parts of the state, they would write questions. Within the next 2 years, those questions would be field tested to find the validity. The hardest thing I ever found as a teacher was to make out a test to measure what I thought I had taught and what my students should have learned. And sometimes after I gave it, I said, well, that was a really crappy question because kids had no idea what I was looking for. Or I really did a crappy job of teaching that concept there and the kids didn't get it. So it's a way to assist you in delivering instruction. 2 years down the pike, those questions have been field tested. We show up on an exam. Stu and Willery don't know when or where. They have no idea. It's given, and they cover. And every year focus has changed, particularly in the math and sciences. That's where this need to view what is being tested really needs to be done. Social studies is social studies, English is English. But math isn't, because every problem has a different answer, no matter how you taught the concept. The way the questions are written now, the explanation you have to give to your answer now is different.
Yeah, I've seen some of the first grade stuff with Laura.
It's nonsense.
It is nonsense. It's utter nonsense.
I believe in theory, creating a common core so everybody is teaching the same thing, working to have kids at the same level is a good thing. We need to have our students do better. We need to do a better job of teaching.
Well, that's why these things always have nice sounding titles.
They sound good when they start, but the rollout and the actual product produced has to be in the same veins. But so far, it's been crap.
Well, if you're developing a common core and in the process change what's being taught everywhere, that's ridiculous, right? You're taking an innovation that should be field tested and imposing it on everyone who, already taught the same material in a completely different way. And I got to think from the stuff I've seen that like 99% have been teaching it in a completely different way. Right. And show me the proof that the 1% who are doing it in the avant-garde way are getting better results.
And education is cumulative. Okay?
Yes.
A is based on B and C
right.
for the previous year.
Right.
And by shotgunning this, the shotgun start like you do in golf tournaments, and every grade is
right.
getting this. There's kids in there who have missed other stuff
right.
this way
right.
that they're getting caught in the switch. So that's what's going on the state of education in the United States. One size does not fit all, and to be honest, a fact of life. You have winners and losers. A fact of life, some people are more inherently brighter than other people. There are people that, I don't care what you do, I would not want them to be doing brain surgery on anybody in my family.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah.
And the philosophy that everybody can achieve, everybody can achieve to their own level. And there's factors that go into that. You and I both had classmates who were very bright kids who got very poor grades because the sweat equity was not exerted.
I could name a few. Yeah. Myself included.
I was going to say I could look in the mirror and see one of them.
Absolutely.
It's not simply making a better car and making a better widget to put in the car to make it a better car. You're dealing with so many factors, and this is not an excuse. It's not an alibi. It's just a fact of life. The fact that everybody is entitled to everything without regard to input that they have in those things. Are you entitled to an education? Yeah, everybody should have an education. But what goes along with that is what you have to bring to the table in education. Should everybody have food, clothing, and shelter? Yeah, they probably should, and be given an opportunity to acquire those things. And then you should be able to fund those things yourself. I am not...
The normal must care for themselves, as Calvin Coolidge said.
That's right, and we've got a whole lot of normal that we are caring for. Mm-hmm. There are always exceptions, and I understand the exceptions. But...
Well, I understand there should be a common core, the basic lowest common denominator of things that people should learn. In all fields.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that you teach everybody the same way.
No.
Because some people will get it this way and some people will not. And maybe some people will understand and master this the concept approach to it, but for the others, it's still important to know that 9 times 8 is 72, I think.
Yes, it is.
All right. See? I held it.
The one that always got me was 7 times 8.
Really?
That's when I always had to stop.
8 times 7 was not a problem.
That was tough too, same two numbers. But I could do the 7 by 7, and then I'd have to do the addition to get up to where the 8 one was.
the fact that the times tables work, learning the times tables work, can be demonstrated simply by saying what's 14 times 15. You can give. I'm sure you can give me 12 times 12.
Yeah, 144.
Because that's as far as we went. Sometimes we went to 13 times 13,
but it wasn't a square, so we didn't do that.
Right.
But I remember in 5th grade was really the times table year, and we were in Mrs. Rosman's class, and she had it up there, and you'd have to take the pointer. Everybody in class go up and do, as the whole class recited it. 1 times 1 is 1 times 2, all the way through, and they drilled it, and you drill it because there are times when you're doing something you don't have time to go and multiply it over here to put in the problem. You got to know what that answer is to continue on.
Right.
And that, what they have to do now, they don't have the luxury of spending a number of weeks just on that concept. And we did, partly because we didn't have gym.
Well, yes.
And we didn't have
But
a recess.
It is a kind of recess from the other stuff you're doing. Your mind works in a different way when you're doing the rote stuff. It's more it's relaxing actually. 2 times 2 or 4.
As long as you're not up there, you just got to do it. But yeah, you're right.
It's like when I was in the rug cleaning business. And it's, is that that? Nah, what are you talking about? Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth.
Becomes
clears your
second nature.
mind. Yes.
Yeah.
I remember one time having to go to the board. I don't know, I forget how old I was. I was like 7th, 8th grade, something like that. Maybe even higher, 9th grade. Anyway, I'm doing a problem on the board, and I don't remember who the nun was. Otherwise, I'd know exactly how old I was. But she says, "Well, Robert, you've got a good start there. You got about half the problem right." And I said, "Well, sister, isn't it true that well begun is half done?" She says, "Yes, it is." I said, and I've got half the problem done on the board? 2 halves make a whole? I put down the chalk and sat down.
And?
She laughed.
She laughed.
Fortunately. They didn't all laugh.
That was pretty clever.
Yeah, it was. I thought so at the time, yeah.
That's what you were honing your skill at that age?
I was honing my talk show skills.
Yeah, at that age. That's a good thing. Well, it's tough.
Either that or I've been telling the story so long that I think it's true.
But no, I wouldn't want to be a kid today. It's so much tougher. The expectation's so much greater. We grew up in the golden age of childhood.
Yeah.
We were all right. We turned out all right. We didn't turn out all wrong anyway.
Yeah. More importantly.
Yeah. So we're okay. So what about the city budget, the common council, sorta?
I haven't seen the details, although I talked to Diane Hatzenbuehler briefly last night after a charter commission meeting. It looks to me like they, my opinion, it looks to me like they chickened out on a lot of stuff. They're happy that they got the budget below what the mayor was looking for, but the mayor was looking for the maximum tax increases she could get. And I'm not sure that that's the standard you want to apply here. I think the standard you want to apply is we got it down below this year's level, or at least not going up. Because you cannot raise the taxes every year and expect the city to prosper. It will fold. And we see the signs of it everywhere. The mayor clearly is of the opinion it doesn't matter how much you tax because taxes are good. Well, no, taxes have stifled the growth in this community tremendously. If it's one factor you're looking at, that's it. Anybody wants to move here is going to take a look at the taxes and say, forget it. How much building has been going on in the city in the last 5 years? How many houses have been built in the city in the last 5 years? There's still vacant lots here and there that could be developed. A lot of vacant lots where others have been torn down. How much has gone up in the place? Nothing.
That's the kicker.
So I think they completely dodged important issues like the transportation department. They've
'Cause they were pretty hot on that when they first started talking, but
oh yeah,
now it just kind of
right. And,
went to the wind.
you know, now they compromise by basically providing for a $100,000 deficit instead of a $200,000 deficit, and reviewing it in December. In other words, they expect to lose half a year's worth of stuff, and if it doesn't improve, then we'll look at canceling it. Well, you know, that just means they're just kicking the can down the road, which is all they ever do. And in that respect, this council's no better than the last one. All they're doing is kicking the can down the road, and now the mayor will issue her objections, and if they don't override her veto, her increases are going to go in anyway. You know, they were all set to eliminate the community and economic development department. Sat down in closed session and probably an illegal closed session, and changed their minds. So you know, they were gonna take over the golf course, and then they didn't. So all I'm seeing is
a little bluster here.
a bluster that doesn't amount to anything. So I can't say. I mean, anything they cut is an improvement, but I can't say I'm impressed with the job they did. And I don't see that this budget process is any improvement over the last one, given the results are exactly the same.
You know, and then when you look at some of the cuts they did make, it's, you know, they cut the overtime for the fire department. Okay, but you know what's going to happen is they're going to need these firemen, and they're going to overrun their budget because of a particular circumstance. They're going to have to put the money back in and pay them for them. So they made some of the things that are easy cuts, but not necessarily real cuts when you get to the end of the year.
Years ago, there was no minimum manning policy. In other words, there's so many firemen per shift. There's 4 shifts. They put up a resolution before the Common Council to institute minimum manning, meaning that if 7 people didn't show up, you called a guy in on overtime, or whatever the number was. The Common Council voted it down. And then during one of the previous administrations, it was just unilaterally instituted by the executive department, and it's been there ever since. Do they need that extra man on the job? Well, previous administrations thought they didn't, and there seemed to be no consequence for it. When there's a fire, everybody gets called in anyway. So the question is, how many guys do you need to start the process? You respond to a fire, you lay the hoses, you get things going. Meanwhile, the dispatcher has called in all these other guys who are paid to be on call. You know, they get paid extra to be on call. And so they get called in, then they get called in for overtime. So it really is an administrative thing that has not been addressed in many years and will never be addressed by this administration for sure. So yeah, so you can say, well, they shouldn't be using this amount of overtime, and you're probably right. You know, you got to call a guy in. It's on for a 24-hour shift of overtime, right? You know, I'm sick today, you're sick tomorrow. You know, works out pretty good.
Yeah. We'll see how in the end what they make of this.
But the mayor has continuously approved overtime that wasn't in the budget. So what difference does it make if they cut it out of the budget if she continues to spend it and the controller continues to pay it? It's all wrong. But
is the Mr. DeCasadas' position, is that a full-time or a part-time job?
what does it mean? It's something we discussed at some length last night at the thing. What does that mean?
Does it mean how many hours he puts in? Is that a determination of if you're part-time or full-time?
It depends on what you're talking about. Okay? For the state retirement system, some years ago, the Common Council, the state retirement system decided they needed resolutions determining who's part-time or full. They didn't care what the definition was. Mm-hmm. Who's part-time, who's full-time. So for the purposes of the state retirement system, it was determined that the Common Council members and the Corporation Council and some other officials who you might otherwise consider part-time were considered full-time for state retirement purposes. Okay?
Okay.
So then you have the employee contracts, which state that part-time employees do not get health insurance and perhaps some other benefits. Okay, and then they define that as being X number of hours. I forget what it was, 25, I think, or something like that. But for state retirement purposes, it may be 30 hours. For health insurance purposes, it may be 25, and it's contractual. In the city charter, it says absolutely nothing. It says it shall be a part-time position, and it says something else shall be a full-time position. Well, what does that mean? Where is that defined? It's not. It's not. So I think what you get right down to is what is the agreement? When I was appointed corporation counsel, we merged the corporation counsel and assistant corporation counsel positions. I had been assistant. So I didn't get the two salaries. As a matter of fact, I didn't get anywhere near the two salaries. But I was raised to a level where I was going to get the health insurance anyway because they had already had the previous resolution on that. But it was part of the appointing resolution. Okay, I'm approved, my salary is, and then they determined that I would get, not a member of a union, I would get the same benefit package that the department head union got. Okay. All right, which included the health insurance.
And that was specifically identified in the resolution.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. Okay. All right. The same is true of Jerry's current agreement. The resolution appointing him from January of 2013 provides that.
It says in there.
It says right in there what his benefits are. So that's it. It's been approved by the Common Council, and that's it. If he wants a raise this year, well, the Common Council has to approve a raise.
So a resolution can be passed and include what you choose to have included, irrespective of what may be identified or defined in the charter.
Yeah. Well, particularly when there is no definition in the charter, and there's certainly nothing in the charter that restricts your benefits based on any of that. So even if there, so even if you say yes, he's part-time, or yes, he's full, whatever, that doesn't mean that the Common Council can't put together a benefit package for a non-union employee. They do that all the time for for the department, department heads who are not parts of the union, and they've always done that. The fire chief and the police chief were always treated separately as not part of the union. So yeah, so the current controversy as such is, in my opinion, meaningless. You may not agree with what his benefit package is. I can appreciate that. You may not agree with what the previous Common Council did, but they did it. And that's it until he's up for reappointment again. And that's my thought on the subject, and my understanding of the subject. I wish I had his package. His is a lot better than mine. Now, when they merged the positions, I was looking for 60, and I think the two merged positions should have been. Let's see, what was that like? Should have been like 65 or 68 or something like that.
Okay.
Plus, I was doing all the labor negotiations, which we previously farmed out for $70,000 a year, an additional $70,000. So I said, I'll take 60. And then the alderman said nobody should make more than $1,000 a week, so I got 52.
Nobody should make more than $1,000.
Yeah. And even though they were designating me as full-time, and the agreement was I would work a minimum of 30 hours a week, okay, to fit their, and I did, and I had my office in City Hall, but then I didn't have, I was coming off of, 10 years or close to 10 years without having had a private practice. So my private practice was so small that it really didn't much matter that I was spending all my time in City Hall. That was me.
It was what it was.
Yeah. I accepted it, and that's that. But I was the only corporation counsel who had an office in City Hall on a regular, and used it on a regular basis. Maybe the only one who ever had an office in City Hall, actually. And that's where the mayor wanted me to be. He's the guy who hired me, and I was there. And it would be nice if the myth was true that I was actually running the city, but I wasn't. But I was, I worked a lot with the code enforcement guys who were, you could walk through my office into their offices, through the secretary's office. So, we were that close together. And so they could drop in, the city engineer would drop in and discuss this or that or the other thing, or the fire chief could come by. So we were able to do a lot of things on a regular basis that might not otherwise be done. But I don't fault any practicing attorneys who corporation counsel from maintaining his own office or not being in City Hall.
They know, it's
Right.
got it now.
Yeah. When Joe Scatino was corporation counsel for a while Billy was married his third term. And he actually had a separate phone on his desk, distinct from his own telephone, that was hooked up directly to City Hall. And I called it the backbone, because every time Mario pick up the phone and Felix would go running to answer. We went through, about half the charter last night, just highlighting things that we want to talk about. Different people might be worth discussing. We're meeting again Monday, so we're moving right along. We try to get as much done as we can, as early as we can. Be satisfied with that. There's, yeah, Tom.
Checking up on us.
Well, after Tuesday, you know, we had that great show. I forgot to turn it on. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, it's a good thing people actually listen on the radio, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. I know. It's one of the great shows of all time. And I get home and I put the chip in the machine and there's nothing there. And I said, well, now I don't know what happened. Yeah.
So the whole world doesn't know that Roy Higgins got me down today.
You know, and I know. And she knows.
Thanks for getting that.
Did she accept your,
Yeah.
she accepted your friendship, huh?
Nothing like that.
Yeah, right.
Days of yore.
We got a few more minutes here, but we're going to be cutting the show short today because we're off to Art Cotugno's funeral. And of course, we did mention him on the show Tuesday, that's no longer recorded. But, you know, aside from not being able to hit the curveball,
All right, kind of guy.
Yeah.
And it was ironic. We played ball Wednesday night against the Mohawks. And one of the gentlemen who was there was playing first base. Do you remember when? Yeah, I remember. Yeah. Wait, you knew I was going to
oh, you're playing the same team you hit before.
Yeah.
Before.
Yeah, I remember hit the ball in my head, and everybody yelled at me why wasn't I playing defense. I was a 10 to 65-year-old guy at that.
Yeah.
We had a lot of stories about him.
I would think if he connected, he would have been. Must have been a great hitter. Because his upper body strike was phenomenal.
Yeah. All the basketball and handball that he played. He was playing then. Played right up to 2 years or so ago. Yeah. Great guy though. Kind of guy you want to go up to.
Yep. He played bagpipes or not? You know, you were talking earlier about Nellie Bush going to Chalmont. Because Art, when he retired, every time he picked up the paper, he was acting superintendent here, acting principal there.
Loversville, Harry,
Mayfield.
yeah, you know. Every place he went as a superintendent, he was asked to sit on at the whole time.
Is that right?
Yeah, he was. Very much like when I found Felicio in Albany, they wanted him to stay up here. They keep him around a little bit longer. There's a few guys out there who just have the persona and the skill to bring out the best in everybody.
Yeah, and walk into the middle of a dicey situation and straighten it out.
See, and I also had the advantage too. You turn off the hearing aid whenever they didn't like what you were saying. So, he'd sit there at the board meetings, and he was the superintendent. We had that real tough board in the early '90s, you know. And he'd sit there and he'd scratch his ear, and then he'd seem to, and he'd sit there for a while longer. And
well, that was his secret.
Listen, you know, and
nodding and smiling.
Fix his hair, and he'd turn it back on and say, "Okay." You know, that was his only fault, was that he really was hard of hearing. But that's what he'd do. You know, we'd watch him because I was the department chair then. We used to have to go to all the board meetings, and we'd sit there and he'd be smiling, and you see him do that, and he'd go. The guys on the board never caught on.
Is that right?
They never caught on. No. But he was real good about that. So you knew.
Wow.
Yeah. He had Minnie Rose and John Miller.
So when guys. You were department head, you had to go to all the meetings. Were you ever asked any questions?
Yeah.
Really?
We were.
Yeah. Like what?
Well, true story. We were doing a budget in the early '90s, and they used to do a lot of the budget creation at board meetings in public session. They talk about these things, you know. And one night they're going on, you know, why do we have to have money for, you know, to send teachers to this conference and this type of training, you know? And Art looked over and he says, you guys have anything to say? Jan Dyer was English department chair and I was social studies. I said, you know, it's pretty embarrassing sometimes for us to be from Amsterdam. I said, last year we had a social studies convention in Albany, okay, 30 miles away. We had no money to send anybody to go, but they were talking about changes in curriculum. So I sent Pat Riley and Stu Palzak to that conference. They had no money. We sent them in through the janitor's entrance to get into the conference to find out what's going on. I said, that's pretty embarrassing. We got the money. True story. True story. Creative. But it was, I mean, they were, you know, they watched the half cents and cents in the budget, you know, and sometimes it just made no sense because, you know, would you want your dentist to be doing something today like they did in 1980? Probably not. You'd want him to be up on the latest thing. And these guys have to go every 6 months, dentists, to these workshops and training to maintain their license so that they're doing things the latest and least painful way. You know, and in education, some of that same stuff takes place. You want to be up on the latest changes in curriculum, Common Core or whatever, so that you can do a better job in the classroom. And these guys just, wow, you know, that's not like when I was in school. I said, yeah, you used to go to a one-room schoolhouse and you had one lady up there with a piece of chalk and that was your technology. You know, things change. But we got the money. Art was very pleased with that.
Wow.
Getting that money in the budget. And the Thursday.
And you were marked for a principalship after that, huh?
I was marked. I don't know what for. But as was tradition, after Art got something for us, we take him a dozen donuts in the morning down the cab because he was a donut. Donut-aholic, huh? Donut-aholic, yeah. Mary Grace didn't like that, but that was, you know, we were just feeding his.
She didn't necessarily know about all the donuts if you dropped them off at the cab, right?
Yeah,
it's not like you dropped them off.
Yeah,
she did, huh?
Yeah,
Mary Grace knew everything.
Yeah, great guy. We're going to miss him.
Absolutely. Absolutely. They don't come any better.
Nope. No, they don't make them like that anymore.
Wow.
Now, I won't be here Tuesday.
Where are you off to now?
Tuesday I have training over at Liberty. I have to go for my med certification training. Once you have to go back for our latest med training because we do pass prescription and drugs at work to the consumers that we work with, so we need to know what we're doing. Can't make a mistake doing that.
No, that's true. Yeah.
It's the rule of three. You have to make sure you got the right person, right drug, right time. You check all three as you go through the process. So you go back for a year.
Continuing education is important.
Yeah, yes, it is. You're never too old to learn.
No, that's true.
You know. Speaking of learning, did you? I know you're limited on
we're all right.
TV. No, you're limited on your TV viewing. They had a program on American Heroes Channel. It used to be the military channel. It's called D-Day 360.
I've seen that. Yeah.
You've seen it? Okay.
Yeah.
It was. Wow.
Chris, D-Day's coming up in a week.
Yes, it is. This next Friday.
And, you know,
70th anniversary.
Hey, don't go. I'm going with you. Oh, okay.
You read lips pretty well.
Anyway, does she know I'm here? Maybe she doesn't know I'm here.
Oh.
Maybe I don't know she's here. Never mind who we're talking about.
That's right. D-Day.
Mr. Lewis Harrower Jr. Is up at Wilkinson. I walk by his door. He's in my book, and he's one of the last, if not the last, of our local D-Day veterans.
You know, I was talking to Bobby Lopuk the other night after the softball game. We got talking about that, and I said, I don't think we have. I didn't swear. I said, I don't think we have anybody left from D-Day. I said, we've only got a handful of World War II vets, but I don't think anybody, so we do. We got Harewood is the last one who's left from D-Day here. And I don't know how many World War II vets we have, and that's not
not a whole lot
No.
left, but I still keep bumping into them.
No, that's good.
Yeah. Well, of course, I had a meeting with one last night, Mr. Villa.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was at Anzio, among other places,
Yeah.
and took part in the invasion of southern France.
Yeah.
Yeah. Picked up a Bronze Star, which he never talked about. So.
No, none of those guys talk about. How long ago did you find out about Blanchfield?
Oh, it was after I had started writing the book, so it was within the last 5 years.
Okay.
Because he never told anybody
That's
until
right.
1992,
that's when
including his own family.
He told his family in '92.
Yeah, he typed up memoirs, and then at one of the Hillhood reunions, I think Tim Blanchfield brought me a copy of it. And after that, I interviewed him. But yeah, I mean, I had already started writing the book, so I don't think I knew about it till like 2008 or 9 or 10 maybe.
So it was nearly 50 years after the
Oh,
fact.
oh, sure.
Before his family
It was
even
50
knew.
years before his family even had an inkling. Yeah. And there are other people. There was a guy I was going to interview, an uncle of a friend of ours who was a POW, and he died before I could go talk to him. But the family told me he never talked about it. Period. They said something so awful must have happened that he has never mentioned it ever. And it was pretty awful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Once in a while I run into one of these guys who says, they'll tell you all about the wine they drank in France, but they don't mention the foxholes.
No.
Well, okay, we're going to cut it short so we can go to the funeral here, but God bless Art Cotugno and his family. I'll be back on Tuesday with the radio show, or maybe, I may be doing it alone, depending on whether Jim...
Well,
returns.
definitely you'll have to tape it in the proper process to celebrate else
I hope
afterwards.
so. Hope to remember to press the on button. Okay, until then, next Friday we're going to do a special D-Day program. I'm saying that. I don't know.
Yeah, I think we would. I sent the D-Day and Amsterdam to the recorder.
Oh, good.
I sent it in, and I put a little thing there, and maybe they'll put it in. I don't know. But sent it in because as the 70th anniversary, it would be good for people to reflect. Because the last time it was in was 2002, so it's been quite a while, and you got a lot of new folks that might want to see what it was like in Amsterdam on D-Day.
Maybe I should send them my whole chapter. That would be fill in the rest of the stuff.
Yeah.
I love that bit I put together about Walter Tatara's senior class president's speech to the assembly on D-Day. It's amazing that we have this stuff preserved.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah,
Imagine that. We did something good in our life. We saved
there
this
must have been a reporter there who said, "Give me a copy of your speech," because I can't believe they did. Well, I don't know. Donlin might have taken it all down. Who knows? He was good at stuff like that.
Yeah. Oh.
Anyway, so we'll be back next week with more of the show with No Name.